Hello there. I'm Scotty. And we are now going to talk about season 2 of Legends of Tomorrow, which is back there as you can see. Season 2 made some improvements on the faults of the last season. It's a little bit lighter in tone, but I feel like the villains are done well. And the storytelling is great. All the characters get their time to shine, except for Rip Hunter. I feel like Rip Hunter's the only character that kind of gets the shaft in this season. They do a thing at the beginning of the season where he disappears for a little bit of time until like towards the end of the season when they need him again. It just feels like they didn't have anything for him. His story was season 1. They didn't have anything for him. If you don't know, supposedly the idea was that Legends of Tomorrow was going to be an anthology series, and that the season 2 was going to have Rex Tyler leading another team of legends, like the JSA or something, on missions through time. But they scrapped that because the cast was also, loved and familiar. So we kept all the others, because maybe that ending at the end of season 1 was supposed to set that up, and because this starts off with Nick Zano running through the mayor's office in Star City to find Oliver Queen, who is the mayor. And my son was surprised. We haven't watched Arrow yet, so he didn't know that we watched Flash, but I don't think they mention it. But by this time, he's the mayor. It's season 5, so he's the mayor. And so, Nick Zano was introduced to us as being Nate Haywood. I said Hardwood. Nate Hardwood. That's a porn star's name. Nate Haywood. He's a historian who's noticed that some of the things in history have changed. That things are different, and it feels that something happened to the legends. Which, of course, Oliver doesn't know what the legends are, but he's just like, he mentions Ray Palmer and Sarah Lance and the rest of the legends, and he says that he's found that there was what was it? Did he say there was a bomb, or did he say the legends disappeared in 1942? And so they eventually locate the Wave Rider underwater in New York City. It's been there since 1942, apparently. And they find Mick Rory still alive in stasis after all these years. Not aged a day. He's perfectly fine. What I forgot to mention about Mick is from season 1, they did this story where this Kronos, this guy in a suit working for the Time Masters, following them through time. At one point, Snart has enough of Mick because Mick has become too much with anarchy, and so he leaves him behind. And then we found that the Time Masters found him and trained him to become Kronos, because the vanishing point exists out of time. So literally, they can send him to any time, and he's been following them the entire time, even himself, which would create a paradox, but I don't know if he had actually succeeded. And the thing is, he would go in knowing he wasn't going to succeed, so I don't know. It's weird. It's weird when they reveal that. It's just a twist for the sake of a twist. But so that's why Mick's been through a lot. So Mick tells the story of what happened. They were in France, I think. The King of France or whatever was going to get married. King Louis the 18th or something like that. I don't know. Louis the 14th. I don't know. We got married and he was going to procreate with his wife, and there are people with futuristic weapons showing up to cause havoc. And the legends thwart them, but they might have caused more aberrations. Yeah, aberrations. it's called when. Yeah, the things in this season are aberrations. These are being changed. Technology being thrown around, that sort of thing. Great things in time being changed, that sort of thing. It's an aberration. And so they were told by Rex Tyler, apparently according to Rory, they were told by told by Rex Tyler not to go to 1942, and then he just vanished. And that they went to 1942, they would die. So they didn't do that. But now an aberration is happening, is the Krauts, or the Nazis, are going to drop a nuke in 1942, years before the nuke would even exist, or an atomic bomb. What's cool is we get to see Albert Einstein here. He's a ladies' man, apparently. Eventually, they're able to stop the nuke, atomic bomb. Almost stop it. They're forced to go into the water, and Rip scatters them all through time and leaves himself behind, and then we don't know what happens to him yet. He's just gone. For most of the season, I might add. And then so with help from Nate and Rory, are able to find and locate the others. Ray is in the time of the dinosaurs, which does come back, and the other two are in the Renaissance era. The other three, excuse me, are in the Renaissance era. Mick was left behind because he was hurt, and apparently everything was erased. So Gideon doesn't even know what happened to Captain Hunter. So they don't know what happened to him. He didn't time scatter himself. He just time scattered the rest of them and put Roy in stasis. So the Legends have to go back to 1942 with Nate this time to stop the atomic bomb from happening. So they save Einstein, but Einstein's wife is taken because she also was his silent partner. And so they save the Einsteins. And then from Damien Dark, who is a part of this season, turns out he's working with someone, which we later find out was Eobard Thawne, and later Malcolm Merlin, and later another version of Leonard Snart, which shows up towards the end of the season, which made my son go, yeah, because they do this thing, and they know what they're doing, because early on in the season, they do this thing where Mick keeps seeing Snart everywhere, and it's only a thing in his head, like he hasn't coped with Snart's death yet. So then when he shows up again, my son's like, oh, yeah. And then when Snart hits him, who's hallucinating now? He's like, and I don't say a thing. He's like, he's so confused. This time, the only new character we meet, the JSA shows up at the end of this episode after they safeguard the Stein, the Einsteins. I mean, kidnapped because they out Minerva as his silent partner, so they're protected, even though they knew about Einstein and he was still out. The JSA shows up, and this version of the JSA has Stargirl, Obsidian, Vixen, who later joins the Legends, Commander Steel, Dr. Midnight, who is black here for some reason, and Our Man, Rex Tyler. Our Man is the leader, and I don't know if he's ever actually been leader. I thought maybe he's like, well, yeah. And my son's like, yeah. I'm like, well, who do you think will be leader? I'm like, I don't know, Commander Steel, because Commander. Oh, yeah, but he's not apparently. And he gets killed by our speedster, which is Eobard Thawne. And I forgot that they don't automatically know it's Eobard Thawne. They just know there's another speedster, and I thought they figured it out, but they don't till later in the season. And really the main plot of what the bad guys are doing doesn't really get pulled along until halfway through the season, where they realize they're trying to put together the pieces of the Spear of Destiny, the item that pierced the side of Christ, dripping his blood all over it, and giving it special magical powers to manipulate, not just travel through time, but manipulate reality. And so the codenamed Legion of Doom are working to put all the pieces together and change reality, because, as we know, Eobard Thawne is on the run from Black Flash. Hunter Zolomon, after he was turned by the Time Wraiths, they're after him because he should be gone, deed, cease to exist, and he wants this staff so he could change reality and not have to be attacked by the thing. Although he keeps the thing trapped, so he would still come after him even though he's rewritten reality. I don't know, it's a little tricky. It's something they have to show so that they show, hell, look, he's still around, but if he changed reality, then it wouldn't matter. Rip Hunter is found in Hollywood in the 1960s, I think it is, with George Lucas. Yeah, he's making a movie because he doesn't remember who he is, but he has some memories of his adventures that he wrote into a script and is trying to shoot a movie about it, I guess. And his memory is completely erased, and he turns to the bad side when they restore his memories but make him evil, which lasts only a couple episodes before they are able to get his memories back. In which we see the actress who plays Gideon, Amy Louise Pemberton, for the very first time, and she is hot. And I said to my son, I said, she and I are the same age, and I'm a fat, balding guy, and she's gorgeous. How does that work? Shut up. Anyway, so after the death of Rex Tyler, who was the boyfriend, or was at least involved with their vixen, Amaya Jui, she goes along with them. She's played by doesn't say the actress's name. I forgot the actress's name. Hold on. It should say in the booklet, actually. It's a booklet. The actress's name is, drumroll, Maisie Richardson Sellers. Yes, British actress. And again, the structure of the season, they don't have too many bleeding in two-part episodes, but they do kind of hit hard with some of their historical stuff. They go back to the time of slaves. So of course, Amaya and Jax are sort of treated unfairly because of the time. And you could have said, well, maybe they should stay on the Wave Rider, but no, they gotta get involved, and so of course they're treated like slaves. Even though at the time there were freed slaves, all you have to say is that he's a freed slave. They have to go back and stop time aberrations from happening. They even go to the moon landing in not the moon landing, but the Apollo 13 mission in 1970, where Nate's grandfather was working for Mission Command. And like almost every member of the JSA dies except for Stargirl. She just stays behind in Merlin's time. She creates the Knights of the Round Table, who aren't actually supposed to exist. And as a fan of Arthurian legend myself, I love this. You know, me and Ray, we're in the same boat here. While Nate, the historian, is trying to dispel all this. No, it wasn't real. This wasn't real. No. This actually didn't exist. And then when it happens, he's like, that doesn't make any sense. This doesn't make any sense. And we find out the struggle actually pushed for this to exist because to safeguard the piece of the spear, which is on the tip of Excalibur. Of course it is. So once they finally get Rip's memories back, that's where they go after Commander Haywood, Commander Steel, and get that last piece. But Thawne is also there trying to get the last piece. How he knew that the last piece was there is beyond me, as the legends say repeatedly that the only person that knows where it is Rip Hunter. So unless Rip, when he was evil, told them it was there, which I doubt. I don't know. At one point, they do kill General Washington, so they have to go back and stop them from doing it. It's really weird because we are shown that Rip shows up and just shoots Washington, but then when they go back in time, that doesn't happen. Like he's leading a troop of redcoats and doesn't once try to go. I don't know. Eventually, the legends are able to put the staff together, or the spear of destiny together. But of course, now they're tempted by it to rewrite history. Sarah could save her sister, but you know that whole thing. They're tempted, but they don't do it. And then we lead to my biggest problem with this season is that they decide to have Mick Rory go evil just so that bad guys can get the staff. And watching it this time, I was really against this. I was like, why do we have to do this? Because he turns evil to align with the other Snart and the rest of them, because in his words, you don't treat me as one of the team. You see me as a criminal. And they said, you know what? He's right. We do. We didn't trust him. And so this happens. But as soon as the Legion of Doom make the world their own, he starts to realize that it's not all that he wanted, because now Snart is a person of great means. All of them are high society, so they rob a bank, but the cops don't fight back. In his words, I can't roast pigs because, you know, the cops work for them. So it's not the same. It's not what he wanted. And so he ends up turning on them and trying to get the other people's memories back, because they're all in different jobs. They keep him around, and they even pose the question, why do we keep them around? Like, well, because if you don't, then there's no way for them to fight back. It would have to be up to just Mick to do it. And, you know. Sarah and Amaya, in this Doom world as it's called, Sarah and Amaya are working as bodyguards for Malcolm Merlin, or Damien Dark, whatever. Ray is a janitor. Stein is a scientist working on some kind of project, where Jax is the project manager, and Nate lives in his mom's basement. There's also talk throughout the season, because Nate and Amaya become a couple, but Ray reveals that that Amaya's going to have to go back to 1942 because Amaya will eventually have a daughter and a granddaughter who will become Vixen in 2016. Based off of this, they wanted this version to be in this season, but the actress was unavailable, so they found a way around it. And yeah, that whole thing was really one thing. They end up in a relationship anyway, and when I get to season 3, I'll talk about how that wasn't handled the best to start season 3, but it works for this season. For them to be a couple, you know, it's one of those things where, they're a couple and they're in love, but you know that it can't last. So when is it going to blow up in their faces? When is it going to have to be pulled apart? You know, that whole sort of thing. And can we stop having Sarah force women to become lesbians? Like, not really. Like, There's a nurse in season 1 when they're in the 19. Is this the 50s or the 80s or something like that? That is a closeted lesbian. But in this one, they go back to Camelot and she flirts with Guinevere. And they even kiss. And it's just like, really? Guinevere is supposed to be like Lancelot's wife or something, right? Or, I don't know. But like in this version, King Arthur is with Stargirl, who, might I remind you, was supposed to be their version of Merlin. So in this version, Arthur and Merlin get it on, which is kind of weird. But anyway, so because Mick turns on the Legion of Doom, he helps the others try to reverse the thing. But because they're not able to get Stein doesn't get his memories back and tries to stop them. And it's revealed that the project Stein is working on is something that is hot enough to burn the spear. And so it was burned and it's destroyed. So the only course of action is to find the Wave Rider and go back to the Revolutionary War, or to World War I, to try to stop them from getting the staff, which wouldn't work. Because, as Doc Brown said, you were in a new reality, right? Like, okay, so not if they were going to the future, they went to the past, I guess. But they're in a new reality. He bent reality. Right? And he did it in World War I. So, if that's the case, then shouldn't reality be warped completely and time travel wouldn't help? But it's a time travel show, and we gotta do that. So they travel back in time to get the staff, but they're not supposed to travel to events they already participated in, but they have to, of course, if they get there. There's a time quake. Or not as soon as they get there, but eventually they cannot interact with each other, but they end up doing that. They try to be covert with it. I got a pimple right here. Bugging the hell out of me. See it right there? Right there. Pimple. What was I again? Pimple. Distracted me. Right. And so, like, each of these other versions, which is the versions we've been following, die so that the real versions can then exist. And it is Sarah who ultimately makes the sacrifice because she grabs the staff and she tries to use it, and it tempts her to bring her sister back, but she changes one little thing. She depowers the staff, which I feel like would be like a you can't do that type situation. You can't use it against the staff, but you can. And so the staff's not powerful anymore, but there's like a million different Thawns, but he is stopped by Black Flash, who I think she also released from his prison. And he kills him. And then the others time travel out of there. Rip decides he's going to leave. Because like I said, they really didn't have much for Arthur Darvill to do. So he's going to leave the team and pursue other means of trying to protect the timeline, you know. And they set destination for Aruba 2017 because that's where Mick is. Why can't we just go to Aruba? And so they finally do. Gideon set course for Aruba 2017. But they end up in Los Angeles 2017 with a bunch of dinosaurs running around. And that's where the season ends. That's the cliffhanger. Dinosaurs in Los Angeles. It's like Jurassic Park. He's like, are they gonna? He sort of guessed it. He's like, are they gonna end up in dino times in the prehistoric times again? I'm like, you're half right. He's like, Jurassic Park. I'm like, He's like, Jurassic World. I'm like, maybe Fallen Kingdom. Big Ben is also there, just so you know. But yeah, I think season 2 is a bit of a step up. It starts to feel where it belongs. Get a little more goofy with stuff, which is where Legends will thrive. It gets goofier as the show goes on, but I think that works to its benefit, not to its detriment. So Yeah, so I would say season 2 is better. And I think it only goes up from here. I don't think there's anything that really drags. But it's very well done. And the villains, of course, again, pre-established villains. Like at the beginning of season 1's villain, Vandal Savage, he was pre-established in the crossover. And of course, you got Thawne, Dark, Merlin, and Snart to an extent, all pre-established villains, and they work. And they work well together. They wait a long time to bring in Snart, but I think that works because you don't want to bring him in too soon. Like, I think I already knew Snart was going to be a part of this, but when he showed up as a thing in Mick's mind, like I said, he did it on purpose to mess with the audience. Like, oh, it's just in his head, and then when he hits Mick, it's like, oh no, he's real, Even though, like Malcolm says, we need to get backup, or is it Thawne that says it, And I gotta point out that while I love Tom Cavanagh, this season proves we should have had more Matt Lesher, Eobard Thawne on The Flash. He is great as a villain. He's great. And they just kept using Tom Cavanagh because he was there already. So they didn't have to hire another actor. They didn't have to pay to fly him out here. They didn't have to do any extra stuff. He was already there. Just use him. Because they're cheap-ass bastards over there at the CW. I'm just saying. Anyway, what are your thoughts on Legends of Tomorrow Season 2? Leave them in the comments below. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I'm Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.